Hello and welcome to Faces of the Valley. I'm Harris Nusbaum. I want to thank Rose Shahan for encouraging me to come back. I had the show for almost 30 years, and because of health problems, I had to stop. But I'm back. Thank you, and thank you for watching. Multiple sclerosis is a disease that affects a lot of people. But fortunately, there's a family in Napa that's doing a great deal to try to make a difference for so many people with multiple sclerosis. Kevin,
yes,
thank you for being our guest and being on the show. And you have an amazing family, and you and your family do so many things. And you started this Crush MS fundraiser about 10 years ago. And what it's doing someday will make a difference for so many people's lives. But before we start, would you just start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself? Tell us who you are.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You bet. Well, I'm a Napa-born, technically not born. My folks moved here when I was 3, but I was raised here in Napa and went to school here, and I ended up actually teaching here in the Valley because I got my teaching credential. And it's been great being from Napa. So being having that the place that we love that is so great. When you're young, you want to get out because you want to do other things. But as an adult, just realizing it's a real special place, especially to be from and have that community here.
Right.
It's pretty great. So yeah, I got my degree in music education. I taught music for a while, and when my MS got bad, I stepped away from teaching because the energy levels that's needed, I didn't feel like I was able to give to the students what I should, and that's been okay because I've been able to fill that time with new things, with other things. I learned how to do some marketing for different companies, magazines, organizations. So I worked in marketing for a while, and then I started doing marketing for my family winery, Reid Family Vineyards, and I transferred those skills to the family business, and that's what I do now. Is I work with the family business, and I do our marketing and our website, social media, the things that you need to do just when you're sitting down. So I do all of those things, and it's a great family business.
Oh,
yeah,
it's a great winery. I know we'll talk about the winery in a little bit.
Sure.
And what is MS? Tell us about MS.
Yeah, well, MS stands for multiple sclerosis, which is Latin for many scars, and so MS is a disease that affects people when our immune system basically attacks itself because it, for some reason, has gotten short-circuited and says, oh, we've got to destroy this substance in our own body, and what it destroys is the covering of the nerves. Oh. So a nerve is like an extension cord where you have your metal cord in the middle that carries the signal, but then it's covered with a insulation. Instead of rubber, our body, it's a fatty substance called myelin, and MS, when the body attacks itself, that's what it destroys. So it destroys this coating of a nerve, and so then the nerve can't work. It can't conduct the electrical signal from the brain, say, to the foot or whatever body part it's supposed to be controlling. It kind of short circuits, and over time, it can completely stop working altogether. So MS it's a bizarre disease because there's not a consensus on the cause of it, and with that, there's no way to cure it. They haven't been able to figure it out. It's still mysterious. They've gotten really, really close, or they've gotten a lot better at understanding the processes and the specific molecules involved or the cell types involved, but they still don't know those crucial pieces of why it happens and then how to fix it. So I was diagnosed in 2002. I had a fogginess in my right eye, and so it got, after a few days of it being foggy in just the one eye, I thought this isn't normal, So we go to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor does the tests in the field of vision tests, and after it was complete, he says, well, this test result is usually the signal, the sign of multiple sclerosis because the optic nerve is really thick with that coating, the myelin. So it's often the first thing that it attacks is that, for some reason, it likes to destroy that myelin. And so, sure enough, you'd go and got consultations with the brain doctor, what they call neurologists, right? See, it makes you think a lot, sometimes slower. It can catch you up, and it's called brain fog.
Well, I'm always thinking slower.
Right, exactly. And so it's funky, but at the time they said, I was diagnosed at UCSF. They have one of the premier neurologist MS centers in the country, maybe in the world. And they said, yep, this is definitely MS. And at that point, from that point on, my life was completely changed. And it's a process because at first, the type of MS that I was diagnosed with is the most common type, which is it's called relapse remitting. So it's when you have a relapse, you have something bad happen, like a symptom where you have these shocks of electricity in your arm, but then it remits, then it goes away, so it subsides. So it's relapse remitting, symptoms come and go. Sometimes people have a symptom and they might not even have more symptoms after that, and that's great, because then your MS is not really aggressive. Well, over time, I had symptoms come and go. At one point, my entire left side went numb, and it's just the most bizarre feeling because we're obviously that's not how it's supposed to feel. But then it goes away or kind of gets better, it subsides, and I did that for many years. Eventually, my left leg started to get really weak, and I needed to walk with a cane. So I was walking with a cane, and that worked. It wasn't ideal, but at least I could get around. And eventually, it progressed to other areas. My left arm doesn't work now. My left hand, and eventually my right leg got affected as well. So I eventually had to stop driving because that right leg I couldn't get from the gas to the brake, and that's not safe. So it progressed, and in fact, I said I have relapse remitting MS. There's another form or kind of type of MS called progressive MS, which is kind of the next stage after the relapse remitting. It can progress into a way that it doesn't go away. When you have symptoms, they just stay, and they call it smolder or get worse kind of over time. But it's not that swinging of back and forth. It's here and it's progressing, and that's kind of what it morphs into. About 80% of people that are diagnosed with relapse remitting will go on to a progressive form of the disease. In fact, there's some consensus really that it's a progressive disease in general, and it's just a matter of the rate or how fast it progresses. Most people, hopefully, it's not going to progress, but so there's a mystery there and trying to figure it out. So all this stuff happened, and then, you try to make sense of it, trying to learn as much as possible that I could at the time, and definitely overwhelming. Eventually, it got to be like, well, I want to try to do something about this. And, what can we do? Well, we can raise maybe money for research. We want to, if we can support research out there, I'd like to financially support that. Well, how can I do that? Well, we do have a family winery, and I ended up meeting a woman who also had a wine brand of her and her husband. Her name is Julie Hare, and they had a brand called the Counterpunch Wines. They produced that to essentially counterpunch against MS. They were trying to do something to fight back as well. And so at the time, we got together and we were talking, and our families sat around the table at Starbucks and said, well, what can we do? And I wanted to have a multi-winery wine tasting because that's what we do here in Napa, and it's an easy thing to do. And so we said, yeah, let's ask some other wineries to come together, and we'll sell some food, or we'll have some food, and we'll have an auction. Maybe people can donate money that way. And we did, and the first one was very successful. We had a lot of fun, and we went, this is something we should continue doing. Yes. And so we did it again the next year. And I'm not sure exactly, I should know this, but the year that we decided this isn't just an event, we should actually make our own organization. So we created the nonprofit group that is Crush MS. Right. And so now every year we put on this large fundraiser, which is a lot of fun. And we invite as many people as that we can, because the more people we have, the more we can then donate to MS research.
It's an amazing event. It's a fun event. that you do. You go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please, it's your show. You can talk whenever you want. I can talk too much, so
No,
yeah, definitely.
you're not. Please talk.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the chance to talk about our event because we want to make sure everybody knows that it's happening and that everyone's welcome. Lots of folks that I've talked to want to help with some cause, with some kind of where they can put their donations, and a lot of people hear my story and say, well, yeah, we want to, and you know what, a lot of people have a connection with MS. It's actually very common that people will say, oh, my aunt has MS, or my sister's friend knows. There's like really 1 degree of separation. So MS is very common. In fact, they've recently altered the number of people that they were suspecting that has MS in the United States. For a long time, they were going off of these old numbers that 200, 300,000 people, maybe 400,000 people have MS. But they, a few years ago, did a new study based on health insurance regulations or records and many other ways of learning, and realized that, oh no, it's upward of probably 1.2 million people have MS.
Wow.
in America, right? So it's a lot more prevalent than kind of it had been in the general consciousness, and that's just in the United States. It's a global issue, and certain areas have higher prevalence than others. In fact, Northern European, so in the Scandinavian countries and Scotland, and has a much higher incidence of MS. And so they were thinking maybe there was a correlation with sunlight and there is a vitamin D component that is off balance in MS. And so they're thinking maybe it has something to do with that. But it can't just only be that. There's also some, I think, genetic factors that the combination of that mixed with exposure to, and this is something that the research that we funded, actually at Stanford, they did a huge study, groundbreaking study. It was published in the journals Nature, and they basically found that they were able to connect the dots between this virus called Epstein-Barr virus, EBV. It's actually a very common virus. We all get it at some point. It's the virus that causes mono. Not everybody gets mono, and of course not everybody gets MS. But what they found is it is such a prevalence that there's something to it. And Stanford went in and looked at the biology, and of course I can't describe it because these guys are a lot smarter than I am. But they were able to connect dots, explaining how this virus can potentially cause MS. And so it's very exciting. Because
what's the possibility of that discovery?
Well, the possibility is very exciting because we know that the scientific community worked super hard and super fast to come up with a vaccine against COVID, because COVID was very transmissible, contagious, and deadly. So there was this urgent need to figure out how to stop this virus.
Right.
Well, this is also a virus, and so with this correlation and this study, if they're able to come up with a vaccine against the Epstein-Barr virus, they're saying that it could potentially prevent MS from happening in the future. So my hope,
would it help people who have MS as well?
That's a mystery, and hopefully so. And hopefully, as they start unraveling more of the mysteries, that they can find something how to fix the damage that's already been done, and that's kind of a separate thing, because preventing MS, say vaccinating against a virus that causes MS, that's fantastic. If we can say, well, we've stopped MS from happening in the future, absolutely great. That doesn't it doesn't address the need to fix the damage that's already been done, because those are different mechanisms and it's not the exact same thing. But that need is also being researched dramatically. And I bring up COVID because that was such a dramatic need, obviously fatal and contagious. MS is not fatal and it's not contagious, so there's not quite that urgency. But to people like me and people that are dealing with the progression of the disease, there is an urgency. It's like, let's figure this out and let's do this quickly, because I'm down 2 legs and 1 arm. Like, all I've got is this moving, so I want to figure it out personally for me before it all goes away, but also for those numbers of people that have MS around the world. We think that's a pretty good thing to fight for, and so we've been doing it as best we can, and we're just going gung-ho on trying to fix or try to find what we can do. stop it, but also hopefully soon be able to fix it.
Oh, well, your family is just such an amazing family. You know, your brother, you know, you're all, you and your brother are very musical.
And my sister,
your sister,
and my dad.
and
my mom loves music, but she lets us play all the music. Yeah.
And to do this fundraiser that you do is just, it's making a difference because of the money that you're raising, you have helped Stanford do this research. And last year at the fundraiser, the people came from Stanford and talked about how significant your efforts are in relation to multiple sclerosis for the future. You know, you should be incredibly proud of what you are doing and your family are doing and Julie and her family are doing to make things happen. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
It's so true. It's so true.
Thank you.
It's really important that people support the fundraiser that you have, that you're doing. It's called Crush MS.
Yes.
So how do people find out about Crush MS?
Yeah, anybody can go online and you can go to crushms.org, very simple web address. And you can see photos from all our past events. There's some logos of past wineries that have participated. We usually have about 30 wineries come, so it's a very large wine tasting. So people can learn more about it, see, like I said, see pictures, and buy tickets there eventually. Tickets aren't on sale yet. It's still a little early for.
When is the event?
The event, I guess we should tell folks that, right? Okay. July 27th, so it's the last Saturday in July.
Say that again.
July 27th.
Okay.
2024.
Crushms.org.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have it free, check out the website, get tickets, and then come on out. So the more people, like I said, the more the merrier. The more folks that come, the more good we can do with it. And we usually have a speaker or two. Folks come and talk about the issues, whether it's like Stanford has come, and we've had. There's a great organization called the MS Achievement Center in Sacramento. It's through Dignity Health, and it's a day program for people with MS to go and work on specific skills that they're interested in getting better at. I've gone to this center in the past. Julie has gone there as well. It's a fantastic organization that we support. The Crush MS will donate to that group because it's really positive and it helps people live well now. So we have two prongs to our mission. Stop and prevent MS from happening, cure it, but then also help people live well now. So there's some other organizations that we donate to as well for that.
It's amazing. Yeah. What other kinds of support do people with MS have in the community?
Right. Well, there's not a lot of specific support for MS here in the community. We do have a MS support group that we started that we meet monthly on the third Thursday of every month, actually at the Center for Spiritual Living building. So we meet there, and so there is a community in that way. And then, of course, the event itself. We love to have the community of folks that if you have MS, we have a pretty deep discount because we want folks to come whether they're have MS or not. There's a lot of fundraisers like the MS Walk or the MS Bike Ride or even stair climbing in large skyscrapers. They raise money, but those are all great. They raise a lot of money for MS, but there's not a lot of people with MS doing those events because for obvious reasons. And so we were like, well, if we're going to have a fundraiser, we actually want to make it very accepting or inclusive and put it out there for folks with MS to come and actually see the community in person. And so, I think locally here, the MS support group is, what I would point to as far as support for folks, especially if they're newly diagnosed. That's a very scary time. When the doctor says, oh, you might have MS or you do have MS, it's kind of like, well, what's going to happen? What do I, you don't know really what's going to happen. It's scary. So I encourage newly diagnosed people to learn a lot about what it is, but also find the community, find people that you can connect with, ask questions to, and that kind of thing. So our support group would be just that. And the National MS Society has programs also. They're a lot more fleshed out and professional than our humble group of people, but it's there's definitely resources out there for folks that are newly diagnosed, especially.
Sometimes the humble group is the best.
Well,
They're close to, and they're friends, and or become friends.
Sure.
And having friends and support. What do you find the greatest challenge for you?
Personally, as far as the MS is concerned, the greatest challenge has been the change to what I expected my life to be. Because there's that idea when you're growing up and when you're, I was in college thinking my life is going to be this, I'm on this track, going to learn, I learned my conducting and my, teaching music, and then bam, it hits you right when I'm starting that journey of being a professional, and I had graduated, I had taught at a few different schools already at that point in 2002 when I, had that realization, and so that really changed a lot. So the challenge that I've had, the biggest one, has been altering my reality versus what I thought I had planned.
Right.
They always say, if you want to tell, if you want God to laugh, tell him your plans. Right. And so
my dad used to say, "Man plans and God laughs."
That's right. Something like that. Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's an overarching difficulty. That whole looking at where I'm in life. But then there's the granular day-to-day things that the challenges of how do I open a jar? This hand doesn't work, and how do you obviously walk? I can't walk, so. We find these tools, these technologies exist to help us with the challenges. The wheelchair, obviously, that's a tool that takes the place of walking. I have these grabbers that are on a long. If I drop something, I can grab it, pick it up. And then to open a jar, there's a thing that has extra grip, and there's tools and technology to leverage what you can do that MS has taken away. And that is really the worst part about it. The challenge that's that's the hardest is dealing with, like I said, that the taking away of what what you thought or what could be, and then it's spending your time putting your mind in other places, and I could go on, but it is true that that your mindset is the most important thing.
Yeah, I want to say that your attitude is unbelievable. That like you were leading a choir at the spiritual center, you don't let this stop you. You help raise money for research. You do help raise money for programs that help other people. You haven't stopped, and your family has not stopped, which is, it's a wonderful thing.
Well, we're not going to let it beat me. It's not going to hold us down. Obviously it slows me down, but it's not going to, it can't beat me, and we're going to just keep going and know that I always come back to the fact that MS can really affect our physical body, but it can't in any way touch our spirit. So that part of us that is, you could go into all of the philosophical, but that part of you that is you, that's not made with molecules, because the molecules are sick, the molecules are malfunctioning, but that part of me, the part of us that isn't molecules, that's the part that we still have complete control over.
Right.
And so that's, to me, where I try to rest in, not being too hard on myself, that it's just these molecules that are having the problem,
Right.
not me.
Right, it's true.
Right.
Your dad was a great doctor. He's retired now, though. And but so now you have the winery. Tell us about the winery.
It's a lot of fun. It's such a fun story because we all work there, my brother and sister and I, and technically my mom does too. My dad makes the wine, My mom makes the labels that go. She's a graphic designer. My sister she's brilliant at numbers, spreadsheets, laws. She does the compliance for the other states, for the shipping. And my brother is in the tasting room, actually talking to folks and playing the guitar and having them get a good old time. And right. And then, like I said, I do the marketing and computer-based stuff. But none of us planned for it. None of us planned to work for a family. We didn't even know that we had no idea, because in the early 90s, my dad planted this small vineyard behind the house, and he was making homemade wine that he had kind of learned how to do with his friends over the years of living in Napa. And at one point, we were like, Dad, this is really good wine. Like, we should, we could sell this. We could make a business. And so we did. It unfolded, and here we are now. My brother and sister and I, we were all music majors. We all did music in college, and now we all happen to take the track back home and to work together. And it's great because we all like each other. You know what I mean? There's a lot of family dynamics sometimes don't work out, but it's a great thing to work for the family business that we believe in, and we're able then to do other things like Crush MS and things on the property and that kind of thing. So it's a lot of fun.
It's great, and to do the fundraiser. It's so important what you're doing. And I remember last year at the fundraiser, the people from Stanford said it was really because of the money that you've raised that they've gone advanced as far as they have, that they are finding connections and possible future cures to multiple sclerosis that would affect so many lives over now and in the future.
Right.
And so it's really, really wonderful what you and your family do. Right. We thank you.
You're
so
very
much.
welcome, and we want to thank everybody for being a part of it. Because, like I always say, we can't do it without you. We can't do it without people coming. The wineries, they donate their time and wine and energy, and we have fantastic food. Lots of people make the food, and it's just amazing. And so I'm always in awe of the gratitude that I have for everybody that allows us to do it.
Oh.
So it all comes back. It's that cycle that we are just. We didn't really plan on it, but we're on that wheel now.
Now again, how do they get tickets?
Crushms.org.
Crushms.org
is the website to get tickets.
Okay.
They're not on sale yet, but probably the middle of April.
Okay,
I would say.
And the event is?
The event, Crush MS, is on July 27th, 2025, from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
2024.
I'm already planning next year, apparently. 2024, this year, right.
Okay.
And it's from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And the goal is for beautiful weather. We've gotten lucky every year, except one, it was a little too hot. But we're hoping for the good weather again.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest and for what you and your family do to make a difference in the world. So thank you so much for watching, and I encourage you to support this wonderful cause. There is hope because of the efforts of the Reid family that someday there will be a cure or prevention for multiple sclerosis. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for what you do and your family. You're just wonderful people.
Thank you for having me.